I think this is Kaustub's contribution to the Queen's silver or platinum jubilee or whatever.
Yeah.
No, the best comment there was when they all marked out 70, right? Oh, tribute to Kohli. That's the top comment. And I'm like, wow, like Indian fans are amazing, man. Like, you can like, hate them, you can say whatever you want.
TV umpire to director, we have a player review. Can we rock and roll, please?
The IPL season might be over, but Brendan McCullum is still coaching 141 all-out place, 132 all-out cricket matches, likely foretelling a future where test matches are no more than T20s with 2 innings. And Silverwood might be gone, but there still ain't no silver bullet to England's batting problems. Speaking of batting problems, India are carrying a top 3 of KL Rahul, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli into a T20 World Cup season. Drum roll. On current form, just a cute little throwback to that all-time great RCB top 3 of Jaffer, Callis and Dravid. Hello and welcome back. This is episode 22 of Bits and Pieces. I am Srinath Sripat, standing in for pod elders Tony and Nitin on the host seat, along with my regular co-hosts all the way from different continents. 22, of course, is a little tribute to David Miller's batting average and strike rate before the sport jinxed its career back from the dead. Say hello then to Cartographer all the way from the US of A. Hey, Cart.
Hey guys, 22 is also double of what the time is here right now, which is 11. And it also happens to be the number of people on a cricket field every time 2 teams gather for it. And this is actually a shout out to our fellow compatriot who was supposed to join us but gave Hath, Udupa. I was going to say 22 is also the number of Karnataka players who turned out for India in the summer of 97. But hello.
Nice. Doing our own intros, clearly with Tony not in the house.
Yeah, I mean, Tony's not there. What can we do, right? We have to make up our own things.
Improvising from under the weather in the Bombay heat. Say hello again to Kaus.
What's up, guys? I would like to say my win streak on Wordle is on 99. Okay, kind of like Bradman, you could say. Or I should say like Mushfiqur Rahim, who compared himself to Bradman 2 weeks ago, saying, yeah, people have referred to me as the Bradman of Bangladesh. I'm like, bro, you have 5,000 test runs at an average of 38. Who is calling you? Nobody's calling you Bradman. You are calling us a Bradman.
Bradman also doesn't have even 7,000. That's the thing. That's the whole game.
Kaus, the irony of being stuck on 99 and talking about Bangladesh from Bombay. There's one other name that comes to mind, but let's not go there. So anyway.
No comments.
Yeah, no comments. Wow. What a well left.
Dravid ball. I'm playing Dravid ball on the pot.
And I want to say one last thing before we skip out of the intros. Like I said, we're missing at least 2 more panelists who were supposed to be on here. And it's come to this finally now that the IPL has ended. Remember, we promised you last week that on Bits and Pieces, we would come back to you with real cricket. So in fact, the way we have come back to you with real cricket is people are ditching the podcast recording to actually go play league cricket, which is a good sign, I suppose. But yeah.
There's only one place to start this week, which is at Lords, where Test cricket is back. Or as I said, 2 innings T20 cricket is back with England playing New Zealand, and the English media has obviously hyped it up as Baz-ball. Baz-ball, of course, being a reference to Brendan McCullum's nickname. Have you guys followed any of it? Kaus, I think you mentioned you watched like a little bit and followed on ball by ball.
I would like first say this is European hegemony. Okay, Test cricket was happening throughout IPL. Okay, except it was not like freaking England playing it. So like it's not Test cricket is back. 3. Yeah, Big 3 is playing. Not New Zealand is not Big 3, right? Like New Zealand is what? Like
New Zealand is the good guys of cricket. I want to say this when Tony is not on the pod.
Plus 10.
Yeah.
This is so on brand for England. You guys know, right? England is celebrating some bakwas, platinum jubilee, something this weekend. We've been hearing no end of it. You would think that, the entire country has come to a standstill and, they're still back in the days of empire, blah, blah, blah. This is completely on brand for England. They're playing a random test against New Zealand, all of that. But England still has this outsized sense of importance that, we are the center of the world. We are the center of the cricket world, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, it gives us a chance for some Baz-ball, as you were saying, Kaus.
Baz-ball is, I think, Silverwood ball only, but with a little more enthusiasm. Right? You come, like, Silverwood ball is you come in and if you're going to lose because the batting order is crap. And Baz-ball is basically you come in, you know you're going to lose, but you're going to smile throughout.
I must chime in at this point to say that we're recording on the morning of day 5. So as per pod tradition, the most important cricketing event of the week is yet to happen, but we are happy to produce an episode anyway for you. So
no, and as per pod tradition also, we have to pick out somebody or some team to jinx. Yeah. And that's going to come true. So whoever we're going to talk up in the podcast, better watch out.
Have you actually seen the game though? I know I have been cracking puns on pots for the longest time. I'm just thinking about like stuff that you can like off pots and pans, like assuming like he ends up doing an Instagram reel of him cooking or something. That's where my mind is going. I'm like, you know what? How can I make this for content beyond what the actual cricket is? Right? Because like it's the same like shambolic thing where like what 17 odd wickets fell in a day. No, in 2 days.
Yes.
17 in the first day.
Yeah, 17 in the first day. Like if this was in India, the pitch they would have abandoned the match saying the pitch has been
right. So
like,
this
terrible.
is a great time to. If I had a klaxon, I would play the Mohan Krishnamurthy klaxon here. This is as good a time as any to bring back our friend Mohan K, who is not on the podcast today, unfortunately, but he is with us in spirit, and he promises to make a triumphant return next week. But he has told us that we have to talk about the quality of the pitch in the Lord's Test. Which I think makes complete sense, right? Like, again, we've talked about this in our discussions and so on. But if something like this were to happen, God forbid, on a subcontinental pitch or on an Indian pitch, even more, I think they would consign that pitch basically to the dustbin of history by the end of day 1. But somehow, suddenly, because it's England, it's all kosher.
Dust bowl of history. That's
dust bowl of history. That's right. Yeah.
But no, I think this has happened a few times in recent history, right? Like this Bangalore test, and then before that, the Ahmedabad test, which ended in 2 days and 1 session with Akshar Patel spinning India to victory. Like that's kind of how it usually goes. It's always, it looks brown, so it must be bad. Our pitch is like so, it's so bright, and that's like
you really said it's so brown, it's bad. Our pitches are white, so it's like very nearly.
It's like that meme, right? The Family Guy meme with the Peter Griffin. You have the active shooter card, and then as the shade of skin goes further and further, you classify it as something different. But it's true, right? There is this double, or should I say triple, quadruple standard in cricket, where suddenly you give somebody a blind scorecard and then you ask them to assess the pitch based on that scorecard. They will tell you wildly different things based on where the match was held. In fact, it almost reminds me, I don't know if you guys, of course, I think you're too young for this, but back in the 90s, we had all these video games for cricket, right? And I think, what was it? Brian Lara Cricket or one of these things. It would have these... Yes, go ahead. Yes.
I played a game older than that. Okay. I played Don Bradman MS-DOS cricket.
Ooh,
okay.
My God.
No. Alan bought an MS-DOS cricket where you had these Pakistani players and Indian players with very weird names, and like you had to decipher who they are. This is Pete Endehar. No, this is Pete Endehar and Pete Henier.
Pete Endehar.
How do you even know what MS-DOS is? MS-DOS is not the twin brother, by the way, of SS-DOS, who opened for India, quite successfully. How do you know what MS-DOS is?
So the thing is, I remember there used to be a jinx in the game where if you bowl extremely wide outside the off stump, okay, pace at 0 and you in-swing it wildly, the batter will try to leave the ball and it will hit the stumps. Okay, so you could get like it was like that one glitch in when someone is trying to shoot a corner 3 in 2K or something, right? Like it's unguardable or something. You could get like the scorecards that you're seeing right now, like on
yes.
You can get similar scorecards by actually playing the game.
I was going to say, if only they had done this 30 years later, they could have named this Jaydev Unad cut mode, like bowl way outside off stump and somehow get a wicket out of it. But no, you're right. Actually, a lot of the video games of that era had these weird glitches. Like I think even Cricket 97 and EA Cricket, they had this weird thing where you could like hit a thing for 6 if you got to a particular position and so on. Anyway, the reason I brought up all these video games is, in the selection screen, when you were selecting which ground to play on, they would have these, they would have funky different music for all the different locales. And then everything would change. Like when you went to the subcontinent, everything would become a slightly darker shade of brown. And, at that time, we were all kids. We didn't really realize what was going on. But now it feels very uncomfortable thinking back to, hey, what exactly were they trying to insinuate here? Everything suddenly became a little browner, a little darker. Like every time, it would be in the Caribbean or in India or in Pakistan. And so anyway, going back to the whole pitch thing, right? It's literally this double standard that burns a bunch of us up, I think. It's like do they not see it? Like, do people not see it? Do people not care about it anymore? Like, I would expect a whole bunch of people to also just be calling this out, right? Like commentators, opinion makers, whoever. But there's just not enough of it, right? Somehow it's high quality cricket if it happens in England, but not if it happens in the subcontinent. Makes no, and New Zealand for that matter. New Zealand has the same problem, right? Every time you have teams that go to New Zealand, we have games ending within like 2-3 days. So
first morning is 58 all out in New Zealand, and then the pitch settles down, is what they say, right? Like that's the cliche. But anyway, like the one other thing I was expecting in addition to this whole pitch drama was blaming the IPL, because all these guys just came in with 48 hours notice. They just landed in England and they got into test match mode. Until Daryl Mitchell recently of the Rajasthan Royals cracked 100 with like some 6-7 hour innings. So it's basically just like one innings to warm up from the IPL, and then everyone's into test cricket mode.
Yeah, and I think honestly, if you're talking about that, then a bunch of people have really just been living out of suitcases, right? Like they've been playing IPL, they've been playing other leagues, and then because of COVID and exclusion protocols and all that stuff. So at this point, I think that's not really, that doesn't really make too much of a difference if you ask me. Like it's just, it is what it is.
But like, what do we make of Baz-ball though? Because like from early impressions of like barely 90% of the first test, it's literally the same. What can McCullum do to fix this England order? Like again, you're relying on Root and Stokes to bail you out. Right, like it's how is this any different from Silverwood? Silverwood, I would say, has had a promotion, right? He's gone from managing Root and Ben Stokes to managing Dimuk Karunaratne and Angela Matthews, because he's like the head coach of like Sri Lanka right now. I'm just trying to wonder, because it's the same. You get a new bowler that nobody has ever seen before, but he's brilliant on England conditions, and that was never the problem for England. England had good bowlers for their conditions. It's always the batting that has been a problem for the last couple of years, and it's more or less the same. Like I don't think McCullum can do much with this because he's also given the same things that Silverwood was given. So like how can he suddenly teach Zach Crawley how to like bat?
Maybe the medicine is maybe England should send some of their batters to county cricket. Oh wait, sorry. Because that's what we do in India, right? Every time something goes wrong with our batsmen.
The guys literally had 5 days, man, with the team, or 1 week, whatever. So everyone was basically just on the bandwagon on day one morning saying, oh my God, Baz-ball, we're getting sides to 46 for 7. This is what usually happens to us, right? Like we are doing it to someone else. This is Baz-ball, whatever. And then they saw their own batting crumble just at the end of the day. So now they're looking for reasons to see what the change is. So now the change is basically catching with intent, fielding with intent, putting direct hits. I'm like, you have nothing left of what you to do this. Like there's one run out with Ollie Pope doing a direct hit on Colin de Grandhomme yesterday. Basically, de Grandhomme is just like swiveling 360 degrees after trying to flick a ball. So he doesn't know where the ball is. Ollie Pope from gully smashes the stumps down with all 3 stumps in view. So everyone is like, this kind of throwing, this is what Brandon McCullum is bringing to the England side. They're fielding with intent. Broad is revving the crowd up. I'm like, wow, this is like full on vibes based punditry.
We had one moment yesterday where an overthrow happened and it hit Ben Stokes and it was heading towards the boundary and it got fielded, right? And literally everyone paused about like what's happening.
Like, wait, right. There's a glitch in the matrix. This is
and like Root like cheekily looks under the hood and like waves his hands up like how Ben Stokes did in the final and put his hands down, and like everyone cracked up. Like, is this Baz-ball where you are like, that's what you're playing cricket with a smile? You're like, it's for the crowds. You're not playing it for yourself, right? You're playing it to make sure that people have a good time. Is that what this is?
You mean T20 cricket? You mean the IPL? It's okay, name it. It's fine. Yeah, don't be ashamed.
You mean the Knight Riders? Yeah, that brand of cricket.
I don't know. It'll be interesting. The Knight Riders, the KKR brand of cricket. I don't know. I think to answer the question about Baz-ball, yes, obviously the sample size is too low right now. Today will.
There is no sample size. It won't even pop up if you look at how many test matches have happened. It's not done yet.
I don't
going to pop up any filter.
Yeah, first we have to finish we still have a 0 star against Baz right now. But no, I think day 5 will be interesting. But I think also as it pans out, right? Like it'll be interesting, for example, also when India go back for that one-off test, whenever it is. When is it? End of June, early July sometime?
I think just a month away.
A month away, right? So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what eventually happens of Baz-ball. I don't think we have enough data right now to say anything one way or the other. Like you said, it's just Silverwood ball right now, just with a different name.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good time to like bring up the squads that like nobody had a time to like properly react to, because we had so much non-cricket happening. We just shut ourselves off.
In between Silverwood ball and Baz-ball, there was a no ball. Like there's nobody in charge of the side, and they just decided to drop Broad and Anderson. So this already feels like an upgrade, right? Like you bring back your two guys with over 1,000 wickets. There have been comparisons actually. That this bit was interesting with regard to this test and the 17-wicket day. You've got Saudi and Bolt on one side. We've got, I think, over 700-800 wickets between them. Anderson and Broad on the other. So there were comparisons to, I think it was the Pakistan West Indies series, late 90s, 2000, where Wasim and Waqar on one side, Ambrose and Walsh on the other. So there's like statistical comparison, even though these are all completely different types of bowlers. So one of the counter arguments against the pitch is, look at the quality of the bowling. This is why 17 wickets fell on day one. And then duly Kyle Jamieson turns up on day 3 and wrecks the whole narrative. So.
From Baz-ball, it's a good time to segue into baseball. Kaus, we've been discussing about this whole new subculture of baseball fans on YouTube fanboying about T20 cricket.
What's been happening off late is, given how we are trying to make cricket more entertaining, right? So like the best people who have figured out how to market a sport are the Americans. Like every sport that they have built up is made for TV. It's made for marketing, apart from baseball, right? So baseball is literally a T20 match, but I mean, it's the length of a T20 match, but it has the feels of Test cricket. So like, I really don't know how they managed to mix that up. But off late, I've been seeing a lot of these YouTube videos of these popular baseball YouTubers who have been watching cricket for a while and are reacting to the IPL. So one video that I saw was of a guy, the YouTuber has lived in Australia and he's come back to the US. So he's like, I'm a Pat Cummins supporter. He doesn't support a team. He supports players. All right. Like how we support Ronaldo or like Messi or something, right?
Which is also an extremely American sports thing to do, by the way, right? Not to root for a team, but to root for a particular player and then carry your affiliation wherever that player transfers, right? Goes along with.
Yeah. So he is now talking about, so the thing is reacting to is that Daniel Sam's match where Pat Cummins just like throws a kitchen sink at every ball, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
And he is losing his mind. Like, look how is he able to, the bat is so like is so flat. How is he able to get so much traction out of it? How is he able to hit a home run of every single ball? These grounds are just as big as the ones we see in the US. Okay. And there was this one Surya Kumar catch, right, which was off a no ball in that where he was at the boundary and he managed to catch it, and he pauses that and discusses it for 2 full minutes. That's like, how do we see this? Like, this athleticism, we don't get to see this in American baseball.
No, so
why is that the case?
I want to react to that bat thing. It's actually very counterintuitive in some sense, right? Because there's this famous line that goes around on American TV and in American sports, which is, if you ask a pro athlete what the hardest thing to do in sports is, they'll say hit a baseball, right? And it actually is hard, like hitting a baseball with a baseball bat. Especially like for those of us that come from a cricket background, growing up playing cricket, watching cricket and all of that, right? It seems like it should be easier to hit a cricket ball, right? Because the cricket bat, yes, it's a flat bat, right? But there's more surface in some sense. Whereas a baseball, like a bat, is just it's thin. Like it almost feels like you need better hand-eye coordination. And also, like, this guy is pitching something at you at consistently at over 90 miles an hour, right? The ball doesn't, you have to hit the ball while it's in the air doing all kinds of weird shit, right? So I don't know. It just feels to me somehow that a cricket ball ought to be easier to hit than a baseball, but I guess you're saying this guy said it was
no. His point was to do it consistently, because people don't hit home runs all the time.
Right.
It's like a built-up thing towards an innings. But the reason I brought it up is I'm trying to get into baseball, but like it's like trying to figure out new sports. Right. So like I started watching F1 a couple of years ago. I've been watching basketball for the last couple of years. And I'm just like, okay, let me give this sport a shot. And my takeaway from this video is, he's like, cricket is a lot easier to explain to people than baseball, because baseball has too many technicalities. It's not a spectacle.
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
cricket,
Well-
you can see something happening, you can react to it, you can tell something fun is happening, or like, oh wow, it's a spectacle. Even to someone who does not watch the sport at all, he can get it. And for me, he's like, I'm finding a hard time to create baseball fans by itself, because it's a difficult sport to even explain to people. Who is at bat? Who is what is there's an RBI. There is
Yes. No, but
what is a knuckleball? He's like, these all things matter, but it's very hard to explain what baseball is to people, whereas cricket is easier. Whereas I find a hard time explaining cricket to people. We don't know the rules half the time.
I thought
Yeah.
it's the exact opposite, right? Like
No,
cricket's
so I
got,
think-
no?
Right. Yeah. No. So Srinath, I think to your point also, I think this is all a matter of perspective, right? Because we can bring up a whole number of technicalities in cricket that, it's impossible to explain to somebody. Like, forget about like the thing that comes up always is LBW rule, but forget about even LBW rule. Why is it not LBW immediately if it pitches outside the leg stump? Why is it not LBW if it hits him outside the line of off? Like,
This even we don't know.
I know, I understand.
Right.
I mean,
The best part is like the biggest spectacle, right, that we have had, the World Cup 2019 final, right?
Yes.
It was decided on a rule nobody knew about.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
think
Like
It's a good point to bring up, because like back then I was part of the Cricinfo crew, and what actually happened was 3 or 4 hours after the final, Cricinfo's UK editor Andrew Miller, so he is the one who dug up the rule book and the laws of cricket and picked up this particular clause and flagged it with the ECB and the ICC, and then the rest of the media then came together and picked it up, and then Dharmasena was asked if he knew the rule and so on. It was actually picked up by a journalist 4 hours after the game ended. Like, that's how much complication exists within the laws of cricket. So this is like one pretty random thing that happened.
right, and it's like it's the biggest game of the of the sport, the ODI World Cup final, and like not only the Dharmasena overthrow thing, okay, even the super over, okay, decided on boundaries.
Yes,
okay,
boundaries. Yeah, count back.
Nobody knew that, and turns out it has happened before in an IPL game.
So I mean, everything has happened before in an IPL game. To go back to something that we keep talking about.
No, but like
million
the point
monkeys
is,
on a million typewriters.
the point is, it's a very like even though someone is amazed at the spectacle of catching a ball with no gloves.
Yeah,
he is able to find this game a lot easier to explain to people than baseball, and I'm at a loss to explain cricket to people who are not followers. Like, why is this the case? Like, is it because you've been following it since you're 5 years old? Like, so you have an instinctive understanding of like how?
Yes.
Okay, I know. I don't know how to explain the offside rule. I know what an offside is though. Like, I've been watching it for so long, so like, that's clearly offside. Why unfair advantage? I'm not sure. Like, you're getting what I'm saying? Like, it's all such instinctive base to even develop this for the sport.
So I think a lot of it, again, that's what we're talking about. A lot of it is just perspective based and experience based. Fundamentally, I think both sports, like having seen both baseball and cricket now, and both in person as well as on TV, like the spectacle of the thing, right? Fundamentally, I think both of them are similar in the sense of they're both easy to explain in terms of just the action. If you just look at what is going on, right? If you watch, I don't know, 6 balls of cricket or 2 overs of cricket, right? You kind of figure out what goes on, right? Guy runs in, bowls something, guy hits it. Sometimes they run between the wickets, they go chase after the ball, throw it back, right? And then baseball is somewhat similar, right? The guy's at bat, guy throws a ball. Sometimes he connects, they run around the diamond. That's it, right? That's literally that's all that's going on, right? The rest of it is basically icing on that cake layer, right? It's like you're adding all these now statistics, you're adding all these weird rules. Because I mean, the other thing with baseball also, I think we were discussing this, just like cricket has its own, oddities and quirks with like LBW rule or like, 30-yard circle, this, that. Baseball has a whole bunch of oddities also. I think the in-fly fly ball rule is like the most famous example of this, which is, you pop a ball up in the infield with like two out and, runners on base and all of that, then you don't even bother running. They don't even bother catching it. It's just considered out, right? So, which to someone who's just coming into the game, it's like, what? You didn't even complete the play. Like, how is that out, right? But so it's the complexities that you add on after it. Now, those are also the same things that basically bring people back. Like, once you get hooked into it, that's the thing that keeps you coming back. And then you're like, oh, this game was good because so many of these things happened. Like, it's somewhat similar to the whole, at least for me, right? Like, when you have ODIs and T20s, especially nowadays, right? The only things that are interesting are when things out of the ordinary happen. Like, in T20, a weird run out happened, or like a weird wicket fell, or like, some weird shot happened. And so the more complexity you throw
Ben Stokes overthrow goes to the boundary.
That's
Is
just
it
like
5
the most
or
perfect
6?
example.
Yeah.
That's just the most perfect corner case. Like, you're always looking for these corner cases, but the corner cases only develop if you throw all this sort of complex web of statistics and and rules and the intersection of these things with on top of the game.
It's not just that, man. Like the icing analogy you mentioned, like cricket's probably got like 6-7 layers of icing which are completely different from each other. Like so, there's obviously the laws which are the rules, and then there's the playing conditions. So playing conditions change every time. So let's take an analogy closer to cricket, which is, let's say, Champions League football. Suddenly they abolished the away goals rule. That's abolished for an entire sequence of matches. So people know, they kind of know that this has changed and so on. But if you don't follow the game, it's new for you. But in cricket, if you go to the super over rule, super over is only for semi-finals and final. Reserve day only for the final. How am I supposed to keep track if you announce this 4 days before the event happens? That I think is very, very unique. I don't think MLB or anyone does that, right?
It's not consistent at all. I think it's put in place based on fields and vibes, just like how Baz does his coaching. Oh, I feel like we need a reserve day tomorrow. Fine. We'll keep a reserve day. Ties were entertained in the IPL. It's not like you could have a tight score after one super over. You don't have unlimited super overs. Why? I don't know.
We have the most famous black box of them all, which is Duckworth Lewis, right?
Duckworth Lewis. I was gonna No, I mean, I was gonna say the most famous example of cricket on this is not even Duckworth Lewis. It's that whole 22 of 1 thing, right? Like South Africa, England in the semi-finals of '92, right? Of course, before your time. Don't look so lost. Sorry. But no, actually,
it's happened again. Okay, 2003 World Cup was similar.
That's true. Yeah, the South Africa. Well, again, Mark Boucher and Sean Pollock.
So imagine losing a match because you're bad at maths. It's just like, imagine you're a pro athlete. Okay, you're told, okay, you're not that gifted in school and other things, but
that's why,
you know what, you can go through school, you can go through college, you can become a professional athlete and get paid.
This is the perfect case for evolution, right? Like after this turned up Ravichandran Ashwin. That's the outcome.
Exactly. It's the perfect desi sport for engineers. You don't have to run too much, and if you're bad at maths, you're ending up losing your games. It's perfect. I think the one thing cricket does lack is we almost don't have this sense of how do I call it, precedence. Like we don't have this jurisprudence where if certain things are decided a certain way, then for the next 20-30 years we're going to go back and litigate them the same way, right? That's what we're talking about also, right? Like one day you can be like, we'll decide a World Cup this way, and then 4 years later it's completely out the window, something else comes in. Whereas for other sports, like if you take football, like American football for instance, right, like the NFL, once you adjudicate something a certain way, they make sure that they write that into whatever the rule book or the law. So the thing is, for football, for example, they have a rule book, but then they also have like a playing conditions thing, like Srinath was talking about. Whereas cricket, I think we have the rule book, but we don't have that playing condition standardization thing, saying that, a catch is a catch, in the following way always, or, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's kind of what's missing with it.
All right. The other big thing that's happened over the week is we were all curious after the IPL if India's selectors had the cojones to change things from the status quo to a squad that looks more in line with T20 in the 2020s, which is basically to say that KL Rahul, Rohit Sharma, Kohli, Rahul to a lesser extent compared to the other two, if they would still make the squad, because we're looking at a World Cup year and a few months leading up to it with the Asia Cup coming up as well. Turns out that it's the same squad pretty much as before with additions from the IPL. Thoughts, guys? We have Hardik Pandya coming back. We have DK coming back. There's a bunch of IPL-based performances being recognized, but we also have those three and the likes of Venkatesh Iyer still in the squad.
Yeah, so I am literally seeing the squad properly for the first time, and this is now for the South Africa series, right? Upcoming. Why is Venkatesh Iyer there?
Why is Venkatesh Iyer anywhere? There is no answer to this question.
Venkatesh Iyer was the replacement to Hardik Pandya. Okay, and Hardik has gotten he's become a gun bowler again, a gun batter again. Why do we need, we have moved on? Society has moved on from the need for a Venkatesh Iyer in the squad, at this point.
We have moved on from horse-drawn buggies to...
Yeah, it's... Okay, one is that. All right. And second thing, dude, which opener are you going to pick? Okay, you have... Okay, KL Rahul captain. That's a separate reaction piece in itself. KL Rahul, Rituraj Gaikwad, Ishan Kishan. What? All three of them play the same way. What is going to... I don't know. I really don't know anything about this. I can't...
Yeah, I think
I need someone else to block in the airtime while I thoda process how I feel about this. Has nobody learned from the fact KL Rahul is not a good captain? Let him bat. He's a fantastic batter. Let him bat. Like why?
The MS Dhoni 2007 call would have been to give it to Hardik, to the younger ones.
Yes, you give it to Hardik. Like
but look, again, I'll go back to the point I made last week on the pod, which is with Hardik, because this is not IPL, it's international duties. You can never tell. Like, 4 hours before the thing, you're going to get a thing saying Hardik Pandya is pulled out because he has some, groin injury or something, which answers both your question of why is he not the captain and also why is Venkatesh Iyer there, because we know what's going to happen, right? So I think that's basically what the selectors are probably doing over there.
Dravid ball sounds like one of his innings, pretty much. Like it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? Like Venkatesh Iyer picked off the back of 6 innings in the IPL. Now he's had 10 bad innings or below par innings. He's still there because we have to keep the faith.
Yeah, keep the faith. Yeah. So you have Bhuvneshwar Kumar making a comeback. All right. So the thing is, the key thing to keep in mind is we don't have. So this is the T20 squad, right? If you now look at the Test squad has somehow KL Rahul is going to fly from South Africa to England quickly, but
no, from India, no.
Sorry, from India to England quickly, because there's a very marginal overlap between the T20 and the Test squad. Rohit Sharma is captain. I mean, they've picked a Test squad for the very clearly it's written, the 5th test against England, right? Okay, so this implies that it is a continuation of the series, right? We are not where we had these talks about whether it's going to be a one-off test, whether it's going to be considered part of the series or not, and all that. It's being called the 5th test. Okay, so let's be clear.
Okay. I mean, this is sort of like, how back when we had Kyuki Saas Pi Kabhi Bahuti and all, they'll kill off everyone, lose memories, change all the actors, and then they'll come back and say, no, actually just continue the storyline as if it was the same story. Complete suspension of disbelief. We have new captain, new everything. Doesn't matter. It's fine.
Ship of Theseus cricket version, basically.
Exactly. Same exact thing I was going to say. You have Rohit. Is it the same series if now Rohit Sharma is captain? Okay, if Shastri is now going to be in the commentary box.
Stokes is captain. McCullum is coach.
Yeah, Baz is coach.
Would be funny.
Ball versus Dravid ball. Yeah.
It would be really funny if DK made it to the Test squad, right? He was in the com box for the previous one.
Actually, it'll be very interesting. It'll be one of those things, that there is a paradox in the space-time continuum and everything has broken down. It'll be fantastic, I think.
So the only change here is instead of Ishant Sharma, you have Prasidh Krishna. Otherwise, it's more or less the same in a way. You got Shreyas Iyer, you got Hanuma Vihari, Cheteshwar Pujara had a monster of a county season, but now looking at how county bowlers are, barring the one innings where he tonked Shaheen Shah Afridi for a 6, he scored 100 when he was in the bowling attack. It's safe to say it's not the best quality league in a way, when you're playing county cricket there. So, good for him. He scored a mountain of runs. I remember the last time, I think, was it the 2018 tour? Right, when Cheteshwar Pujara went ahead, and even Ishant Sharma had a county stint. Ishant Sharma was averaging more with the bat than Cheteshwar Pujara at that time, in county cricket. That's how dire it was at that time. And right now he's earned his place in the squad once again. But again, it's just one test. You're flying all these people in there for this one test, which I am convinced that if we lose the game, we're going to be "Arey bro, this is one off. Series is not tight. This is one off. That's what it feels like it's going to happen here."
Wait, so the interesting thing is, I hadn't noticed this, but I'm looking at the tweet that the BCCI put out with the Test squad. So this KS Bharat is actually in the squad now. He was part of the backup for the 5 Test series originally when they went in 2021.
He was he pretty much replaced Saha, right? When New Zealand toured India in between, and Pant was rested and whatever. So they announced. I think Dravid in particular told Saha that they're kind of moving on from him. And,
Right. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I didn't connect the Saha thing. Okay.
But what do you think? Do you think this can we, one thing, will the test even happen given rain and England and all that?
This we can answer 4 episodes later. Nobody knows this kind of stuff.
But I am feeling absolutely nothing. I'm not feeling bullish. I'm not feeling bearish. I'm just feeling it's a whole feeling of meh. I don't feel excited by this, but I'm not that I would say I'm not that negative also about it. I would say.
Why do they? I mean, I have a question. Why do they even have to go back and finish the Test series? Just, okay, ECB wants to make money. Make them play like 3 T20Is in like different grounds. Done. Yeah. Or just play 3 T20Is in the same ground. Do we know where this is going to be? I forgot even where.
So
originally supposed to be,
play 3 England-India T20s in Edgbaston. You will make more money than you would have with the Test match anyway.
So this was originally going to be at Old Trafford in Manchester, and then they moved it to Edgbaston. Old Trafford and Lancashire were basically like after the ECB for the money and the insurance payouts and whatever. And then they just scheduled a concert on the same day as this rescheduled Test.
It happened. This might be a tangent, but very recently on Test Match Special, right? The BBC radio show. You had the ICC chairperson just stating that like we have to acknowledge the fact that other formats are subsidizing Test cricket. And apart from India, Australia, and England, where it's viable to play Test cricket, every other country has to understand the fact that they cannot play too many Test matches. They need more T20Is and ODIs to kind of make up the numbers, right? And so you can tell that England is just holding on. They need the 5th Test somehow. All right, and everyone else is like moving on to like ODI cricket and T20, and like the blast is happening literally right now while the Test series is happening in the UK. I think we put too much importance to it. Like you're calling it, it feels like, it's a very early call, right? Like we're 1 month away from whether it's going to happen or not. But I feel like it's going to get washed out. Like we're going to go all the way there. It's like, oh my God, 5th Test. Will we see Ben Stokes versus Kohli? Jofra is going to be fit apparently.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Right? Is Jofra going to be fit? I think.
No, I thought he's out for another season, is what I read. But
like, okay, so you have Ben Stokes coming in. He wasn't even there last time.
At this point,
he's come in.
At this point, we see regularly more of Jofra Archer's old tweets than we actually see of him playing anything.
No, I feel like this is an early call, 1 month early, but like I feel it's going to get washed out. Yeah, these people are going to go there. They're going to eat nice tea, coffee, whatever at Edgbaston,
also,
and they're going to come back.
Yeah, I mean, also it's going to compete with like traditionally one of the busiest times in the sports calendar, right? Wimbledon's going to be going on full swing in England at that time. I think it will have started by that time.
Yeah.
And there's going to be all sorts of things going on. But actually, so one thing I wanted to mention was maybe they should just go back to the, olden days of Test cricket. So one of the things that I was reading about a few weeks back was on India's tour of England in 71, the historic tour where they won the series, for the first time in England and all of that. Apparently in the Oval Test, I think, if I remember correctly, right, which is where they won the thing, they wrapped it up. They actually brought an elephant onto the ground during one of the days.
That's a famous picture. Yeah.
It's a very famous picture and it's a very well chronicled event. Now, a lot of people talk about that thing. And the elephant, was the star of the show. And then the Indian team basically thought that it was their lucky mascot because they ended up winning the Test and the series there and all that stuff. Just do that, like have KL Rahul juggling bottles on fire or something, and then play like 3 T20s, make everyone happy, send them back home. Why this whole sham of like doing another Test match? I think Mohan's going to kill me next week when he comes back to the podcast.
Or you won't be there at all on the pod.
I know.
Because Mohan's taken over as a monologue.
Executive decision.
Monologue. Yeah.
Monologue.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Anyway.
Because like I feel like this brings me, I wouldn't say this brings me no joy, like, but I'm also not that. I'm very nonplussed. Is that the word?
Wow. You're now sounding like a Hindu op-ed now. It's great.
I think this is Kaustub's contribution to the Queen's silver or platinum jubilee or whatever.
Yeah.
No, the best comment there was when they all marked out 70, right? Oh, tribute to Kohli. That's the top comment. And I'm like, wow, like Indian fans are amazing, man. Like, you can hate them, you can say whatever you want. Okay, so speaking of which, this is what Nitin wanted us to talk about. Deepak Chahar got married, right? And there's a celebrity tweet put up celebrity Instagram post put up by his sister, congratulating Chahar and his wife. And she states something around the lines of, be careful, don't break your back. We have a World Cup coming up. All right, and like this is the most I have been entertained by cricket in the last like 10-15 days post IPL. Like forget like Baz-ball, forget like trying to watch baseball at some level. Just like what I just reading that I just cracked up.
Yeah, we should just make her Indian selector, right? Like she's already making better calls about who the team should be.
Yeah, that's right. I think the IPL has seriously, compromised our ability to enjoy cricket just for the action on the field. I think we're all hooked onto the off-field action for now. So we'll have to unlearn a lot of those behaviors. I think.
Just wait till Root and Matt Parkinson have 15 runs to do, like to win 1 wicket in hand later today.
Oh boy.
Your love for the game will come back.
This is what Test cricket is all about. You know what? Every single time, like you have like a moment like this where like, oh, this is what Test cricket is all about, right? Like where you have 2 runs to win, 2 overs left, last man standing, what's gonna happen or whatever. Like, bro, like there are like a million Test matches that have been played on absolute roads. Okay, where like on the 5th day they have scored 900 odd runs. I'm not even referring to the Sri Lanka game. This has happened in the recent Bangladesh tour. Okay, the first match was on a road. Right, there was everyone is scoring hundreds on a whim. Okay, you can't say this is what Test cricket is all about, like by cherry picking. Test cricket is also that, which I had to endure and watch.
No, I think the irony is that this recently concluded season of the IPL, our biggest complaint was basically that it was like this, that there weren't enough close games, and that it turned out like the usual Test cricket distribution. So.
But I think, with the hope that Baz-ball will continue to be 90-minute innings, even in Test cricket, we look forward to the 5th Test in Edgbaston and
not Baz-ball, but Baazigar.
Baazigar, yeah.
I'm surprised nobody has called it Baazigar ball, because like
Baazigar.
KKR, SRK, he's been given a tough task. He has to come back from like whatever mess that this is. Whatever. I miss Tony,
this is
man.
like galaxy brain level, like connect. My God.
Yeah. I'm trying to channel Tony at this point and like crack up a pun out of it, but beyond just the pun, I don't have the backing surrounding noise about like, do you know how well it is? What great play, like no.
I think we'll actually find out by the end of today if it's what do they say in Baazigar? Haar ke jeetne wale ko Baazigar kehte hain. So we'll see if Baz actually ends up on the losing side.
That's the second innings, is it? Baazigar with the second innings reference.
Yes.
Wow. On that happy note, that's all we had on episode 22 of Bits and Pieces. Say bye, guys.
Bye.
See ya.
TV umpire to director, we have a player review. Can we rock and roll, please?